You better get out of that wheelchair fast, or you're gonna die. From behind me, desperately trying to stop the accelerating wheelchair, I can hear the cheerful voice of Tyler. I frantically pulled the brake of the wheelchair with my hands. He was a man careless with money, but still, we were supposed to have pledged our love that day. While struggling on the unstoppable wheelchair, anger welled up in me more than sadness. Ah! Thud, the wheel got caught in something, and I was thrown from the wheelchair. A large noise echoed behind me, and I lost consciousness as it was. And the next day, when I woke up, I was in a hospital room. Looking to the side, Tyler was crying on the next bed. After a while, noticing that I was looking, Tyler started talking with a flattering smile. Amy, you're okay. I'm glad. I got hit by a car there and my leg. Getting more and more emotional, Tyler pulled off the blanket. There was Tyler's body, with only one leg attached. Hey, you're gonna help me, right? We're married, aren't we? I refuse. Huh? Not thinking I would refuse, Tyler is dumbfounded. Who's gonna help, huh? I decided to vent all my thoughts. My name is Amy Moore. I'm a 45-year-old illustrator. I liked being active when I was young, and I even participated in national swimming competitions during my student days. Even as a working adult, I enjoyed various sports without change, but about 2 years ago, I got a certain disease, and I can no longer put strength into my left leg. I did not hear the diagnosis directly, but with a leg that has little to no sensation, I cannot walk, and now I am living in a wheelchair. My husband Tyler is a year older, and we met at a group date. My house was originally wealthy, and my father was a well-known company president in society, so many people, both men and women, wanted to get in on that windfall. Actually, my father has never favored me or my siblings, and while it might have been a privileged environment, there's no return for pleasing me. But still, many people thought so and approached me, and I was sick of it. In the midst of that, only Tyler seemed to look at me, not the money, and our relationship developed. Our dates were picnics and mountain climbing, and anniversaries were at each other's homes. We were happily nurturing our love, and around the time we entered our 3rd year of dating, we got married. Our new home was very close to my in-laws' house, and they adored me. Especially my father-in-law, with whom I shared a love for sports, and we often went to watch games together. We had been married for 10 years, hadn't been blessed with children, but we were still living happily. However, as soon as I started my life in a wheelchair, Tyler's attitude completely changed. He began to demand, as a matter of course, that my family pay for the cost of making our home accessible and for arranging a helper. Of course, my father didn't pay for that. I was originally planning to cover it with my savings and future salary. When I told this to Tyler, an unexpected reply came back. Then the inheritance will decrease, won't it? What do you mean? My illness was not supposed to be life-threatening. Even so, why do I have to be told about an inheritance? Startled by my voice, Tyler suddenly began to speak in a coaxing tone. No, sorry, I made a mistake. Your savings, right? See, I thought we gonna need a lot from now on. I was not convinced by Tyler's poor excuse, but since he hated reducing our marital assets extremely, I reluctantly told myself that maybe it's just his stinginess again. After that, Tyler often mentioned inheritance or insurance. Gradually, he stopped making excuses and started suggesting things like, let's switch to a more expensive insurance. I found myself unable to understand Tyler anymore. In the end, despite Tyler's objections, I decided to use the savings I had accumulated before marriage and that year's bonus to fund the renovations. And I decided to request a housekeeping service company about 3 times a week. With the house made accessible, I was able to do the housework even in a wheelchair, so 3 times a week was enough. The person in charge was an older woman with a good demeanor, and it became my pleasure to have tea with her during breaks. However, it seemed that Tyler didn't like the woman in charge, and he often complained. The way she folded the laundry was different, the order in which she arranged the washed dishes was different, and sometimes he even felt the taste of the food was different. All of these were such nitpicks that could be called fault-finding, and one day I finally exploded in anger. Why do you say such rude things? Huh? It's true, right? She's getting money for such a shoddy job. The world is being taken for granted. Besides, it's weird to pay for housework. Have her do it for free. There's no way that can happen. Tyler was momentarily taken aback by my ferocity, but he soon began to smirk. And then he said something unbelievable. "If you insist, then fine," he said. "I'll deduct the same amount we're paying her from our living expenses." What? I felt dizzy with Tyler's incomprehensible decision. We have been paying the in-charge woman about $1,000 a month. Half of that amount I had been contributing by adding to the living expenses from my own savings. But now, Tyler said he was going to put that $1,000 into his own allowance instead of the living expenses. Our living expenses were already stretched thin, so if Tyler didn't contribute, I would have to make up the difference. In other words, my own out-of-pocket contribution would go from $500 to $1,500, basically tripling. Holding my temple strongly, I answered. "If you deduct $1,000, your contribution to the living expenses becomes $500. Where do you think I'm gonna find the extra $1,000? Well, it's your whim, so you should pay for it. You're earning, aren't you?" Unbelievable. It's true that after falling ill, I had bravely gone independent and was succeeding. But my income was just a bit higher than when I was a company employee. If I had to deduct another $1,000, I wouldn't be able to save any money. However, Tyler showed no signs of backing down. "Fine, but promise me one thing. Make sure you save that $1,000 properly." "Got it." With Tyler cheerfully agreeing, I felt nothing but anxiety. And that anxiety soon proved to be well-founded. Tyler stopped complaining about the housework agency. But correspondingly, Tyler stopped doing any housework. "Hey, even though we're asking the housework agency, we should do the daily chores." "Huh? What are you talking about?" "We're paying them, so let them do it." Tyler began to leave the house more often. There was no conversation, and on the rare occasions when we met, he made a disgusted face. The word divorce started floating in my mind. "Hey, wanna go see the cherry blossoms in the botanical garden?" Cherry blossoms? We had been living with minimal conversation for 2 months. It was early spring. Suddenly, Tyler said this, leaving me baffled. Smiling, Tyler continued to talk to me, who was at a loss. "Recently, we've just been passing by each other, right? I thought I'd like to have a little talk while looking at the beautiful flowers." "Well, okay then." "All right, let's go," Tyler cheerfully exclaimed as he began pushing my wheelchair. The trivial conversation after so long eased my weary heart a bit. Maybe the recent discord was because we hadn't been talking enough. It was when I began to think that way. "You know, I'm out of money. I really need your insurance money soon." "What?" Along with Tyler's unheard voice, my wheelchair was pushed vigorously and began to descend the slope on its own. Unable to understand the situation, I panicked. Still, I desperately reached for the brake. "You better get out of that wheelchair fast, or you're gonna die." From behind me, as I tried desperately to stop the accelerating wheelchair, Tyler's merry voice echoed. Desperately, I pulled the wheelchair brake with my hand. He was a man careless with money, but we were supposed to have vowed love that day. As I struggled atop the uncontrollable wheelchair, anger bubbled within me more than sadness. "Ah!" The tire caught on something, and I was thrown from the wheelchair. A loud noise followed behind, and I lost consciousness then and there. And the next day, when I woke up, I was in a hospital room. Looking sideways, Tyler was crying on the next bed. After a while, noticing that I was watching, Tyler spoke with a fawning smile. "Amy, you're safe. I'm glad. I was hit by a car there and my leg. Becoming increasingly emotional, Tyler tore off his blanket. From there appeared Tyler's body, with only one leg attached. "You'll help me, right? We're husband and wife, right?" "I refuse." "Huh. It seems he never imagined I would refuse." Tyler was left speechless. Who would even think about helping him? I decided to let out all the feelings I had been holding in. Why should I take care of someone who pushed me down a hill just to get insurance money? It was a moment of madness. I'm regretting it. If saying sorry could fix everything, we wouldn't need the police. My words turned Tyler's face pale blue. I continued to talk without letting him interrupt. "Besides, weren't you supposed to be saving $1,000 a month for me? What happened to that?" "I am doing that." "Oh really? Then you can pay for this hospital stay with that money." "Well, about that." Tyler was stammering, in a panic. And for a good reason, his bank account was practically empty. Why do I know this, you ask? Because I have the bank book. Tyler, always finding things troublesome, only checked his account online. Therefore, I usually managed and kept all the bank books. Back when our relationship was good, I never felt the need to check how much money he had. But since he hadn't been depositing the $1,000, I started keeping the accounts. And I found out that instead of saving money, he was sending it somewhere else. The recipient was a woman. I hired a detective and found out that Tyler had not only cheated on me but even had a child. The money was going to his affair partner as child support for his kid. 4 years old. Cute age, huh? Have you been visiting her? How long have you known? A month now. As I said this, Tyler's mouth hung open in shock. I dropped another bomb on him. Really, I was shocked. Because you're paying child support for someone else's child. Huh. Tyler had a confused look on his face. Understandably so, as Tyler believed the child his affair partner had given birth to was his own. I couldn't hold back my laughter. Then, Tyler cut it off with a disgruntled voice. What the hell are you talking about? That kid is truly mine. Hearing those words, I burst out laughing even more. Seeing me like that, Tyler looked at me as if I was something creepy, so I decided to tell him the truth. But you see, you can't even have children. Huh? I continued talking while laughing at his most foolish face and voice ever since we met. You really thought I was the reason we couldn't have kids? Well, I was considerate and didn't tell you, but your father knows. It's a lie. Blood completely drained from Tyler's face. Actually, we had been undergoing infertility treatment for about 3 years since our marriage. At that time, Tyler reluctantly took the test. As a result, it was revealed that the cause was with Tyler. However, after consulting with my father-in-law, I decided to keep it a secret from Tyler. My father-in-law had the view that Tyler, who is mentally fragile, would not know what to do if confronted with that fact. Hearing my father-in-law's view, I was troubled, but in the end, I continued the infertility treatment without telling Tyler the results, and stopped it at Tyler's request. After telling him all this, Tyler suddenly called someone on his smartphone. Hey! You had an affair, didn't you? The kid ain't mine, is it? Watching Tyler yell like that at the first word, I understood who he was calling. Tyler seemed to be getting arguments from the other end, and occasionally his voice would leak out sharply. Among them, I burst out laughing at the words. You had an affair too, didn't you? Tyler is saying. This isn't the time for such talk. But to me, both the woman who deceived Tyler to pay child support for another man's child, and Tyler, who spent all the money on child support and affairs and then pushed his wife off a hill for insurance money, seem equally terrible. It seems the call was unilaterally cut off, and he couldn't get through no matter how many times he tried calling back. Tyler was utterly angry at the attitude of his affair partner, seemingly forgetting I was beside him. That bastard, was she only after the money? Sorry to interrupt while you're heated up, but we're not done talking. Amy. It seems Tyler finally remembered I was there, looking at me and sweating. I brought the conversation back with a smile. Do you remember signing the papers when we decided to save that $1,000 you spent? Huh? I sighed at Tyler's attitude. He probably planned to go back on it later anyway. I picked up my smartphone from the table and showed him a photo. See, it's written here, right? In the event of misuse, divorce, and the entire amount spent up to the discovered month will be paid to the wife, Amy. It's a scam! That was not there! Oh, but it's properly checked, and there's a signature too, right? It's even notarized, isn't it? Tyler looked frustrated. And then, he immediately appealed to me with desperate eyes. Come on, Amy! I was just possessed. Please don't say divorce, okay? Besides, I can't pay such a large amount. Divorce is settled. I can't do it anymore. But don't worry, you can pay the spent amount in installments. Seeing me like that, Tyler has a face like he's the victim. I sighed and called out to the figure hiding at the entrance of the hospital room. Please come in. Dad! Seeing his father-in-law enter the room, Tyler shouted. My father-in-law, face red as if his veins might burst, is glaring at Tyler. This is the end of our relationship. Huh? What are you talking about? My father-in-law glared at Tyler and came over to me to apologize. I'm truly sorry. I won't ask for forgiveness, and it's fine if you don't. Please file a complaint. I'm really glad Amy is safe. Thank you. He must be crying. Large drops of water are falling onto my bed. I glare at Tyler, the reason for making my beloved father-in-law do this. What? Don't you feel anything seeing this? It's your fault. Always spending money, and yet earning more than me, and your rich family is stingy. I don't know why I married you. So you were after the money too. Feeling like all the beautiful memories have been tainted, my voice is the lowest it's ever been in my life. Tyler is surprised, looking at me. While surprised at myself for deeply loathing Tyler, I put on a smile. Well, marrying for money, and in the end having to pay repayment, huh? Shut up. I'm not paying. Too bad, payment is a done deal. As I said this, my father-in-law, looking scary, told Tyler, I will be watching you until the payments are done. I couldn't see, but his face must have been terrifying as Tyler's face went pale and he was shaking. Excuse me for interrupting. In this worst atmosphere, a middle-aged doctor in a white coat entered. Coming straight to me, the doctor handed over a document. Is there a reason you are not receiving treatment for your leg? What? Tilting my head in confusion, I looked at Tyler, who was staring at the doctor with a pale face. The doctor continued speaking with a puzzled look. If you have surgery on your leg, you'll be able to move again. Didn't you hear that when you were diagnosed before? I didn't hear. I looked at Tyler. Tyler was trying not to meet my eyes. Seeing that, I had a bad premonition. Tyler. You lied to me? Saying that the illness would never be cured, and that I would never walk again? Ah. At Tyler's non-committal reply, my father-in-law again yells at him. I turned to the doctor and asked. I didn't hear the diagnosis directly at the time. Could you please tell me? Yes, Amy, your illness is a temporary paralysis caused by a herniated disc hitting the spinal cord, leading to blood flow issues. Since some time has passed, you'll need rehab, but you will be able to walk. I couldn't stop my tears at the doctor's words. I was wrong to trust Tyler and not hear the diagnosis, but my disgust for Tyler, who lied about a problem involving a person's life, grows by the minute. There's not a shred of affection left. Tyler, what's going on? Tyler. Don't just stand there, say something. My father-in-law's yelling echoes in the hospital room. Tyler's shoulders shudder, and he suddenly starts crying. But if Amy is free to roam the world, I'm always left behind. If she's in a wheelchair, she will always stay home, and she won't try to have more fun than me, right? So. What? Your selfish jealousy has forced me to live in a wheelchair for 2 years? Knowing I could have surgery to eliminate the pain and paralysis, and you kept silent? That's the worst. At my words, Tyler hangs his head in exhaustion. I look at him with cold eyes. Both the doctor and my father-in-law seem angry at Tyler for selfishly denying me my chance for treatment. So, Amy, may I explain the surgery to you tomorrow? Yes. Please do. I instantly brighten up. The doctor smiles back at me warmly. Just that gives me hope for a bright future ahead. I will instruct the nurse to separate the rooms. No! I don't want to be separated from Amy. The doctor glances at Tyler's sudden loud refusal, ignoring him. Then he says to me, Then, see you tomorrow. And leaves the room. Amy, you're not really gonna divorce me, right? I'm an amputee, remember? I know I was wrong to keep quiet, but think about our current situation. Despite my father-in-law yelling at the incredibly selfish Tyler, he stands his ground. I silently watch, but seeing no sign of it settling down after about 10 minutes, I reluctantly speak up. Then, I'm gonna work, and you'll handle the chores. If you ask for a service, you'll pay for it. Oh, and I'll deduct that amount from the living expenses. Huh? I can't live like that. What are you saying? What? Was it strange? It's strange. Be kinder to me. I'm in a wheelchair for life. Tyler said so, his breathing harsh. What I had said was all that Tyler had said to me, but Tyler seemed to not notice. Hey, do you realize? Huh? Realize what? What I just said is what you said to me. As I said that, Tyler finally seemed to notice, his face turning pale as he froze in place. My father-in-law had also forgotten to shout, his face turned pale. It must have been a big shock to learn that the son he had desperately raised had said such terrible things to his wife. Well, let's talk through lawyers from now on. And about the compensation too. Wait, Amy! As Tyler called my name, a nurse came into the room. It seemed that I was moving rooms so Tyler couldn't easily barge in anymore. Tyler resisted to the end, but with one leg, he couldn't get up from the bed and could only scream. Well, Tyler, goodbye. Wait for me! With Tyler's screaming as the last thing I heard, I was pushed by the nurse and left the room. My father-in-law met my eyes and nodded, and I bowed my head in return. That was the last time I met Tyler. A few months later, I received divorce papers from Tyler through the lawyer, and the divorce was successfully concluded. I heard Tyler is quite disheartened and is living under the strict supervision of my father-in-law. He seems to have been able to keep his clerical job, but it seems that the reason for the divorce leaked somehow, and the colleagues who were worried about his injury at the time of his return are now looking at him coldly. Tyler brought it upon himself, but I heard him lamenting. My colleagues are harassing me! And I couldn't help but bitterly smile, thinking he hasn't changed a bit. Actually, I still meet my father-in-law now and then after the divorce with Tyler. Partly to check on Tyler's situation, but mainly because we are hobby friends. Initially, my father-in-law seemed apologetic, but recently he is getting back to his usual self. Upon investigation, it was revealed that the affair partner was married and had been married to the real father of her child. I sent the evidence of the affair and child support transfer to the affair partner's husband. It seems he found out about the affair from the evidence I sent, and a huge dispute ensued. It seems they also got divorced. A resentful letter arrived at the lawyer's office, but all were ignored. As for me, I underwent surgery immediately after that and then spent about 6 months in the hospital for physical therapy. Thanks to my father-in-law's arrangement, I was able to continue working while staying in a private room. After being discharged, thanks to ongoing physical therapy and regular checkups, I can now walk with a cane. A recent daily routine is to take a walk around the house. Actually, recently, I exchanged contact information with someone I met during those walks, and promised to go for a meal. He's a very kind person who helped me when I stumbled and fell over a rock. These days, the exhilarating feeling of a new spring coming makes my excitement unstoppable.